Last night was the vice presidential debate. And I'll tell you right now, I didn't even want to watch it. But my biggest takeaway from it after starting to watch it was the fact that there's actually still a chance for civil discourse in this country. Last night, that's what they were doing. It was civil discourse. As I was watching it, I actually sent out a tweet during the actual debate, and I said that the way that J.D. Vance and Tim Walz are engaging in civil discourse between each other while trying to win a debate is what the country needs more of. And there's a lot of people that responded because people are tired of all the theatrics and all the political theater and all the gaslighting that goes on. Like the constant end of the world gaslighting that both sides constantly engage into to manipulate the narratives that they force feed the public. People are tired of it. They don't want to just get gaslit anymore. They just want to hear what your thoughts are, hear what you're going to provide, and then let people make a decision from there. And that's what they were able to do last night. I was really surprised. I threw it on like I'm going to just watch this as I fall asleep. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, they're kind of calm right now. They're not doing the normal, real crazy talking that both sides do. And I even checked after the debate was over. I went to a couple of different channels, Fox, CNN, all of them. And, one of the things that they were talking about was the fact that it was a relatively calm debate. And I was really surprised. And I think that it just lets people know that, eventually it's going to be based on what the marketplace decides, right? Politically, the votes that people give people is like their marketplace being like what they're voting for, right? So I think that as we start to show more and more that we're looking for just calm discourse and that more and more of us need to strive to be able to engage with each other in a calm way. Look, we're not all going to agree on everything, but the one thing that we should be able to agree to is being able to calmly or at least listen and understand what the other people are trying to say, because trying to understand the other people that don't agree with you's perspective is a great way for you to expand the way that you look at things. And I think that seeing two people go at each other like that in a calm way, and at the end, they brought their wives on stage and introduced each other and all those different things. It was more of what like politics needs to be. It needs to be more like sports where you get on the field, you compete, and then at the end of the day, may the best man or woman win. And that's really what we need to see more of from our political leaders. We need to see them actually stop trying to manipulate and force feed us narratives that the social media companies end up echoing back to us. That's what I'm tired of, man. It's all these echo chambers, and that's all people seem to keep looking for. They just want to find their side and hear the things that they want to hear back. And I'm just glad that other people took note of it too. Because I was usually when you start to go down the Twitter rabbit hole, you just start to see people say crazy things. But a lot of people agreed with what I had to say, and a lot of other people were saying similar things as we were watching the debate. Now, as far as what that's going to do for the overall race as a whole, before the debate started, I remember, I don't even have to look because I remember the numbers are pretty simple to remember. It was 50-48 in favor of Kamala on polymarket.com. And then in the morning, it didn't really change much yesterday. In the morning, it went to like 50-49. And then right before I recorded this, it had got to 50-50. So we're literally in a dead heat. It's literally a coin flip, like I've been saying. We're going to find out on election day or the day after or how long it takes for them to get through the votes and certify the votes that they got. It's going to come down to the wire. I also, when I was looking, because I find it, me being somebody that's like a huge student of communication and how people communicate and try to get better at communication and understanding communication and teaching communication to people throughout my life, I found it strategically, you could tell last night watching Vance versus Walz that Vance was a lot more at home. He was a lot more in his element. And I was like, this guy had to be like on the debate team or something like that. Now, just because you're able to out-debate somebody as far as the performance you have, it still comes down to what's the policy stances that you have versus what the other person has that people are going to use to vote at the end of the day. All we saw was a healthy debate, which we need more of, And we saw somebody who's actually really good at debating, regardless of what he has to say, just the way that he carried himself on the stage. And I think that everybody, you're going to see the other side talk about the lies and all that. I'm not here to fact check anybody. And as anybody knows who's seen an episode here, you guys know you're not going to get an echo chamber. You're not going to get a partisan take. It's going to be unbiased. And an unbiased view of what happened, Vance clearly knows how to debate better than Walz. But I give a shout out to Walz for at least sticking in there and not giving up and trying, even though he had some moments where he fumbled. But at the end of the day, it's going to be based on who the actual presidents are that people are voting for. This is going to be a small part of the equation. But I just thought that it was interesting. Anybody who's trying to improve at communication, just look at how comfortable he looked up there on stage. And like, there's a moment where, he's like, hey, can I have a moment to the moderator? And he's like, thank you, Margaret. I think her name was Margaret. He's like, thank you, Margaret. And then goes into it. And then he also broke all his points down that he wanted to get across within a certain time period. And I like I said, I was like, let me see if this guy, I wanted to know if he was on a debate team before, but I couldn't get confirmation of him being on a debate team. I did get confirmation, however, that he's apparently was, working real hard with trying to prepare for this. Let me pull up the article. Let's go here. So this one was one that I saw from, where is this article? I got it right here. Hold on. Here we go. So Reuters, I apologize for that delay. But it goes, this from Reuters, and they were saying that Walz and Vance focus on policy over personal attacks as it happened. And it goes, Walz and Vance shared what might be called a Midwestern nice approach to Tuesday night's more than 90-minute discourse. Americans who watched the vice presidential debate between Walz and Vance were in for a big surprise. A cordial tone and an emphasis on ideas the two have in common. They shook hands at the start and lingered afterwards to introduce their wives. And, that's what I'm saying. Like, it was a little bit surprising because of all the heated rhetoric we're so used to getting from both sides. Both sides are guilty of this, regardless of what their stance is. They try to paint the other side and the opponent as something that's like the end of the world. That's why I said they got to stop with all the end of world gaslighting that they're literally going to be back saying the same thing next election cycle on both sides. So that was the poly market thing. And then, like I said, to kind of finish up my overview of everything, I just thought that the main takeaway was that it wasn't contentious. They just calmly made their points. They engaged in dialogue with each other. And regardless of which ideas you subscribe to, we need more civil discourse. The more we're able to have conversations that aren't emotionally charged, the more we're going to be able to work towards middle ground, because all of us are different. Every one of us comes from a different walk of life, different background, different upbringing, different beliefs. Not everybody thinks the same, but what we can do is by speaking our minds and calmly engaging with people that disagree with you more than the people that agree with you, is finding a middle ground by doing so. And that's something that I think that we can take away from what we watched last night. And I hope that we see a lot more of it. Now let's get to the next topic.